And so I was born and raised in church my whole life. I was a good Christian kid. I got in trouble here and there, but I mean, I was a kid, so kid stuff, you know. Yeah. I grew up in church. I was very close with my mom, dad, and my family, and had a very good relationship with all of them. So I went to Sparkman School from kindergarten through 4th grade and made some good friends and stuff and all that. Then moved over here to Arkadelphia in 5th grade because my mom, she became a teacher over here. And I was kind of nervous in a way because I was used to seeing all those friends, you know, every single day. But as soon as I walked in through the doors, I made some great friends that just plugged me in at Arkadelphia. And it felt great, on the first day of school, someone just taking you under their wing, you know. So that was a blessing from God. And so it was just pretty good after that. And so like I said, I was very close with my family, and in 7th grade, it was a week after my birthday. I think I was just turned 13, and we found out that my grandmother had stage 4 lung cancer. And I love my grandma to death. And me and Tanner are witness. She is the most kind-hearted woman, hard-working woman that I've ever known. And she's just so loving to everybody. And when she got cancer, it was just hard for me to see that she had a weakness, because she was always so happy and everything. And so, like a Christian kid, I forgot to say, I was baptized, saved and baptized at a very young age. So I was always in church. And so I was saved and baptized at a young age, 1st or 2nd grade. And so anyways, back to the story. So we found out she had cancer and everything, and we began to pray, and she never seemed to get better. And so I prayed harder, and I always believed if you pray hard enough, God will answer your prayers. But she seemed to get worse and worse, and some days, when Mom went to go check on her and stuff, I didn't want to go see her because I was too afraid to watch her die. And so it was hard for me because I was afraid of seeing her at that state. On the movie Breakthrough, the dad, he was too afraid to see his son going through that. It was the same way for me. I was too afraid to see my grandmother go through that. And so January 16th, she passed. And I started to question God, because I've grown up my whole life knowing, if you continue to pray and pray, God will answer your prayers. And, it didn't happen for me. And at a young age, I was confused because it didn't happen. And I questioned God because I prayed and it didn't happen. And the day of her funeral, I said a prayer to God saying that I want to have peace. And I felt Him speaking to me and saying that you will have peace and that she is no longer suffering anymore. And so that really hit me hard, for God to say that she is no longer suffering and she's in a better place. I mean, a lot of people say that, they're in a better place now, but I know now that I'd rather have her in a better place than being on this earth suffering. And so, but all that was, and that calmed me, and I was able to stand up for my family and just be strong while we were going through the funeral and stuff. But while that was going on, my dad, he was laid off from work, and he had to find another job, and it was out of state. And it was pretty hard because, one, I didn't have my grandmother anymore, and two, my dad was gone for a year maybe. And so it was hard not having him there, because I've always had a close relationship with my my dad, and it was just hard because one, my grandmother had passed, and then he had to find a different job to provide for our family. And at the time, like as a little kid, I was like, why is he gone? But now looking back on it, he was doing the best he could to provide for our family. And so with him being out of the house, I had to step up as the man of the house, per se. Like, I had to help Mom, because she was obviously going through a lot because of her mother dying and not having her husband there with her. And so I had to help step up and comfort her and help with around the house more. But I mean, going through all that, I think it helped me grow and become stronger as a person, to be able to be there for somebody that's going through a hard time, and also just to be strong. And so finally, we continued to pray, and he found a job that was close, that made good enough money, and it was fine. It was a blessing from God. So now he's back here, obviously, and we're living good with him back and everything. And it was just a reminder of saying God has our back, and he will provide a way for you, no matter if my dad has to go out of state to find a job. He'll always find a way to bring everything good again. So fast forward into high school, and most of y'all know my sophomore year, second day of school, I had a car wreck, and I flipped multiple times, and I hit the front end of my hood hit a tree in midair, and then like the front end of my tailgate hit a tree in midair. So like my cab fit perfectly in between two trees, and I didn't hit anything. And so I was able to walk out of that without a single scratch on me. And it was just a message from God saying that he was protecting me, because my car fit perfectly in between those trees. Like, if I was left or right any other way, I would have been crushed. And so I didn't have any injuries, and I could have died that day, honestly. I wouldn't be here telling you guys my story if that would have happened. But God protected me through that, and he helped me realize that he has a plan for me now. He still wants me. I could have died that day, but he chose to let me live so I can continue my life and pursue him and tell people about him. And so we fast forward a little bit more into about a little over a year ago, and my grandfather started to get sick. He had cirrhosis of the liver, which basically means his liver wasn't functioning properly, and once that wasn't functioning properly, all his other organs started to fail. And so it was just a slow process of his organs failing, and it was very similar to my grandmother. It was oh, here we go again. And so again, we prayed again for him to heal, but it wasn't happening, because he was just continually getting worse and worse. And it was just the same thing over and over again with my grandmother, like a flashback. And God, and I guess in a way Satan was telling me that God didn't help you then, and he's not going to help you now, so why even try? And so that just, it fluttered my belief in him a little bit, because I trusted him, and it just continued to get worse, and it was hard for me to understand why is this happening. And so And he continued to get worse, and then he died, and it was sad for me because I was more broken this time because it was the same exact thing over again, with my grandpa as it was my grandmother. But God continued to remind me, He continued to show me and remind me that my grandpa is no longer suffering and that he's in a better place now. And He continued to give me that peace that I needed. And so, God always, like, when you, hold on, let me say this. I asked for one thing and God gave me another that was better in a way, if that makes sense. So I asked for healing of my grandfather and grandmother, but it wasn't the way that I would have wanted. And now realizing that, I would have rather them have a good relationship with God, and if they do die, go to heaven, than them to stay on this earth and still have problems with themselves. And so, instead of giving them the healing that I wanted, He gave the healing of His plan. And in return, He gave me peace of that. And so that was good. And so fast forward to recently, it was a few months ago, and it was weird. I had a dream, and it was about Pastor Rick preaching about the story of the man who built the house on the rock and the man who built it on the sand, and the story of like when the storm came, the one that was on the sand, it drifted away, but the one that was on the rock stood. And so, like, the thing that kept on rolling in my mind while I was dreaming is, what is your foundation? So when storms come through and the storm came through, and the house on the rocks still stood no matter what. So no matter what, just keep on standing. And that kept rolling in my mind. Just keep standing, just keep standing. And when life doesn't go your way, just keep standing. And that was a very good dream. And so a few weeks ago, Pastor Rick gave that exact same message that was in my dream. Word for word. And it was just, I started to cry. It was just amazing of how God just worked in me that way, you know. He was able to use a dream and used it for a situation I was going through, because I was going through a rough spot with a relationship, and it was hard because I didn't know what to do, and just hearing those words, just keep standing, it reminded me of that dream that I had that God implanted in me, and I pursued that because I knew that was God talking to me. And it opened my eyes that I just needed to keep standing, obviously, and I thought things that were going to go good, but the relationship it was very rough. It was a rough breakup. But, there's the but. I was broken at the time, but I chose to keep standing, and now, after that breakup, I'm more stronger because I still had God in me, and I chose God over trying to fix things myself. And once you choose God over trying to fix things yourself, it may start out as not good. Like, I chose to stand for God and pursue Him, and the breakup happened, and I was like, I'm standing for you, why did you let this happen? But over the months, I started to realize that it was for my benefit. And so God always has a plan, but we need to let it develop and be patient. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit, patience. You need to be patient and let God just work. Like no matter what you go through in life, just trust in Him and He will get you through what you're going through. I mean, it may be hard, but like after all that I've been through with my grandmother passing away, and like having that trust in Him, and then just be heartbroken. But later on, I find out that it made me stronger with being there for my mother, and then the same thing happening with my grandfather. Just still trusting in Him that He will provide, and He made me stronger from that. And then after a rough breakup, I was heartbroken, but God just healed me all because I trusted in Him.